My friends and I, being the thrill seekers that we are, decided to embark on a camping trip deep in the heart of the forest. Now, this wasn't your run-of-the-mill campground. No, we opted for the remote, off-the-grid kind of experience, where the only sounds you hear are the rustling of leaves and the occasional hoot of an owl. We set up camp near a tranquil river, its waters shimmering under the moonlight, and settled in for what we thought would be a relaxing weekend getaway. But as the night wore on, strange things began to happen. It started with subtle noises, rustlings in the bushes, branches snapping in the distance. We brushed it off as the usual sounds of the forest, nothing out of the ordinary, that is, until we saw it. A figure, tall and looming, emerged from the darkness beyond our campfire's glow. Its eyes glinted with an otherworldly light, and its movements were unnaturally fluid. Fear gripped us as we realized we were not alone in the wilderness. With hearts pounding in our chests, we scrambled for our flashlights, casting beams of light into the darkness in a desperate attempt to catch a glimpse of our mysterious visitor. But each time we thought we saw something, it would vanish without a trace, leaving us questioning our sanity. As the night wore on, the atmosphere grew increasingly tense. Every crackle of a twig or distant howl of a coyote sent shivers down our spines. And then, just when we thought things couldn't get any worse, we heard it. The sound of whispers drifting through the trees, echoing like a sinister lullaby. Panic set in as we realized we were being watched, stalked by something beyond our comprehension. In a frenzy, we packed up our gear and made a mad dash for the safety of civilization, our minds reeling with fear and uncertainty. To this day, we're still haunted by the memory of that night, by the feeling of being hunted by an unseen force in the depths of the forest. So if you ever find yourself tempted to venture into the wilderness alone, remember this story and heed the warning of those who have encountered the unknown and lived to tell the tale. My friends and I, always up for an adventure, decided to explore an old forest rumored to be home to strange happenings. Now, this wasn't your average stroll through the woods. No, this forest had a reputation, one that sent shivers down the spines of even the most seasoned outdoorsmen. They said that once the sun set, the forest came alive with whispers and shadows, and those who dared to enter risked never returning. Undeterred by the warnings, we plunged into the dense foliage, our senses heightened with anticipation. The canopy above blocked out the moonlight, casting eerie shadows that danced at the corners of our vision. But we pressed on, fueled by a mixture of curiosity and bravado. As we delved deeper into the heart of the forest, the atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive. The trees seemed to close in around us, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. And then we heard it, the faint sound of laughter echoing through the darkness. At first, we brushed it off as our imaginations playing tricks on us. But as we trudged onward, the laughter grew louder, more manic. It was as if the forest itself was mocking our intrusion, relishing in our growing unease. Just when we thought things couldn't get any stranger, we stumbled upon a clearing bathed in an ethereal glow. In the center stood a circle of ancient stones, their surfaces etched with symbols long forgotten. And there, in the center of the circle, was a figure unlike any we had ever seen. Tall and slender, with eyes that seemed to pierce straight through to our souls, the figure beckoned to us with a crooked finger. Fear gripped us as we realized we were face to face with something beyond our understanding, something not of this world. In a panic, we turned to flee, but the forest had other plans. Vines snaked out from the underbrush, ensnaring our ankles and pulling us back towards the circle. It was as if the forest itself was alive, a malevolent entity hell-bent on keeping us within its grasp. But just when all hope seemed lost, a bolt of lightning split the sky, illuminating the forest in a blinding flash. In that moment of clarity, we saw our chance for escape and seized it, tearing free from the forest's clutches and racing back to civilization as fast as our legs could carry us. To this day, we're still haunted by the memory of that night, by the feeling of being trapped in a world where the line between reality and nightmare blurred beyond recognition. So if you ever find yourself tempted to wander into the depths of the unknown, remember this story and tread carefully, for you never know what darkness lies waiting in the shadows. My buddies and I decided to spend the night camping in the remote woods, far away from the noise of the city. Now, these woods weren't your average camping spot. They had a reputation, a dark history whispered about by locals in hushed tones. They said that strange things happened there, things that couldn't be explained by logic or reason. But being the adventurous bunch we were, we brushed off the warnings and forged ahead into the unknown. As night fell and the darkness swallowed the forest whole, a sense of unease settled over us like a heavy blanket. The crackle of the campfire was the only sound breaking the silence, casting flickering shadows that seemed to dance with a life of their own. And then, we heard it, a low, guttural growl emanating from the depths of the woods. We froze, our hearts pounding in our chests as we strained to see through the darkness. But whatever had made the noise remained hidden, lurking just beyond the reach of our feeble campfire. As the night wore on, the atmosphere grew increasingly tense. Every rustle of the leaves or snap of a twig sent chills racing down our spines. And then, just when we thought things couldn't get any worse, we saw it, a pair of glowing eyes staring at us from the shadows. Fear gripped us as we realized we were not alone in the woods. Whatever creature lurked out there was watching us, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. In a panic, we huddled together, clutching our makeshift weapons and praying for dawn to break. But the night had other plans. As we huddled in terror, the creature crept closer, its growls growing louder with each passing moment. We were trapped, helpless against the unseen force that stalked us from the darkness. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, a beam of light pierced the gloom, cutting through the darkness like a beacon of hope. It was a rescue team, drawn to our campsite by our frantic calls for help. With their arrival, the creature vanished into the night, leaving us shaken but alive. To this day, we still don't know what it was that stalked us in the woods that night. But one thing's for certain, we'll never forget the terror of being hunted by something not of this world. My buddies and I decided to go camping in a remote part of the mountains. Now, let me paint the scene for you. We're talking about a rugged landscape with towering peaks and deep, shadowy valleys. It was the perfect setting for a weekend of hiking, fishing, and maybe a little bit of stargazing. But as the sun dipped below the horizon and the darkness crept in, a sense of unease settled over us like a heavy blanket. Maybe it was the way the shadows seemed to dance in the flickering firelight, or the way the wind whispered through the trees like a chorus of ghosts. Either way, we couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't alone out there in the wilderness. As the night wore on, strange things began to happen. We heard footsteps echoing in the darkness, too heavy to belong to any animal we knew of, and then we saw them, glowing orbs of light hovering just beyond the tree line, their colors shifting and pulsating like something out of a sci-fi movie. At first, we laughed it off, chalking it up to our overactive imaginations. But as the orbs drew closer, our laughter turned to nervous chatter and then to outright panic. What were they? UFOs? Will-o'-the-wisps? Or something even more sinister? With hearts pounding in our chests, we grabbed our flashlights and ventured into the darkness, determined to uncover the truth. But the deeper we went into the woods, the stranger things became. Trees twisted and contorted into unnatural shapes, and the air grew thick with a sense of foreboding. Just when we were about to turn back and retreat to the safety of our campsite, we stumbled upon a clearing bathed in an otherworldly glow, and there, in the center of the clearing, stood a figure unlike anything we had ever seen before. Tall and slender, with skin that seemed to shimmer in the moonlight, the figure regarded us with eyes that burned with an otherworldly intensity. Was it an alien, a forest spirit, or something even more ancient and unknowable? In that moment, we knew we were in the presence of something beyond our comprehension, something that defied explanation. With a sense of dread creeping over us, we turned and fled, our minds reeling with the enormity of what we had witnessed. To this day, we still don't know what we encountered in those mountains. A trick of the light, a figment of our imaginations, or something far more sinister. But one thing's for sure, we'll never forget the night we came face to face with the unknown and lived to tell the tale. So if you ever find yourself wandering through the wilderness late at night, keep your eyes peeled and your wits about you, because you never know what kind of mysteries lurk in the darkness.